Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Child of Time. Today we're talking about Wheel of Time, Season 1, Episode 1, Leavetaking. And he's back. He's James. He's the Marshland Monster. Ahoy there, James. Welcome back.
Ahoy to you as well, and merry Beltane to all.
Yes.
Ho, ho, ho.
'Tis the season for Beltane.
Is there a Santa alternative in Wheel of Time?
Oh, there is not. Man, there isn't. I think they just threaten kids with Trollocs are going to show up if they're bad or something like that.
Okay, so there's a Krampus, just no Santa.
That looked like a whole crew of Krampuses, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just give them a little more hair, give them a little chin strap, and then oh my God. I would love to shave a trollop. I don't know how. I don't know into what. Maybe make him look like a poodle so I could really punch him good. Because poodles suck. Don't punch a poodle, but in your mind be like, ugh, I wish I could.
I'll take a poodle any day over any of these trollops. I didn't like a one of them. I'm sorry to say. I wouldn't want to shave them. I wouldn't want to groom them. I wouldn't want to hang out with them. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'd pick little fleas off from them and say, does that make you feel better? And they'd go,
we didn't have to worry about these trollops on 1899 on that ship. I'm still bummed. I got to bring it up again at the very beginning that we need to get 1899 back. We need to do our hashtags, save 1899, hashtag 1899 Netflix, what is lost, comma, will be found. All you got to do is just tweet any kind of tweet you want and just put those hashtags in there. Go to Instagram and do the same and be very nice about it. I hate when people are jerks and they try to, hate on Netflix, and that's not going to get you anywhere. Love will get you everywhere. Right, James?
I'll say, hey, about 1899, hashtag save the tick.
Meaning what?
I mean, bring the tick back. Oh. There was a huge campaign to bring the tick back when that was canceled.
That's true. I was part of that as well. I took part of that. I was a tick reader.
Man, the tick was so good, that show. Ooh, chef kiss. Speaking of Amazon properties.
You're right, but I don't know. Animation is falling out of favor for me lately. I used to love The Tick. I used to love Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, but I'm just out of animation these days.
No, yes. Steven, The Tick, the live action.
Oh, I was talking about way back when, the cartoon. I forgot about the live. I forgot that even existed. Who was that? Diedrich Bader doing that?
No, a few years ago. That
Griffin Newman was
on.
Alfred. That's right. I never even gave it a fair shot.
Oh, dude, it's so good because the cinematographer from all the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, I believe, directs it. So it looks lush and amazing, and then the tick's just bumbling around. It's fantastic.
And that's an Amazon property, you say. So I got this.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, great. I got another childish thing to watch now. I'm going to watch Steins Gate, and I'm going to watch The Tick.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of time travel stuff, Nicole was told by someone who frequents the place she works, because Nicole's like, I guess I got to watch 1899 because someone told me to watch it at work. And I said, you don't, though. You were around me. It's not fun.
Let her make that judgment call herself. I think she'll dig it. I dug it a lot. And I just gather from listening to your podcast with Nicole that Nicole and I share a more of a taste of TV and movies than you or I do. So
probably we do discuss this exact subject on this week's Mostly Speaking Sentai as of recording. We just got done recording that, and we were discussing how The Boys, she started watching that. I was like, oh, I wanted to watch that. And she's like, you never told me that. And also, you would not like this show. And I'll go, okay. Because I thought The Boys was a goof around with murder. Okay. We're funnily, accidentally murdering people. I thought it was a parody on superhero stuff opposed to a satire on, what's it called, capitalism and how the world works. And I'm like, well, I've already seen that in comic book form. on martial law. Martial law, ooh, baby, it's so good. Read that instead of watching The Boys.
Okay. I've never seen The Boys, haven't really had any kind of inkling or any reason to watch it. Doesn't look like it's interesting to me. Because I thought the same thing you did. I thought it was just a goof up of superheroes, and these guys are more realistic superheroes. I guess not. You're shaking your head.
No, I was thinking it was The Tick, but like rated hard R. But no, it's like it's disgusting. It's showing. It's pretty much like, what if egomaniac kind of like Trumpers were superheroes? Like that seems, or like the far right were like, oh, we love capitalism and all this bullshit. It's not a show for me, and Nicole made the right call in saying, James, you won't like this. I wish you would have said that for Avatar.
I'm sorry about that one, but I'm glad that we reach a consensus on this show, Wheel of Time, because I was, about a year ago, I was like, what should I make a podcast about? Metal music? You were like, nah, no interest there. Maybe marijuana based? Nah, don't want that. Wheel of Time? Maybe. You're like, yeah, that sounds cool. So here we are. That's great.
As we remember, I did think it was a sci-fi time travel show.
There is some sci-fi elements, and there is no time travel, but even so, we go back and forth in time, just like every TV show does in the world.
It goes back in time.
So this show came out, this episode was released in November of 2021, and it was met with some divisive criticism.
Yes, they are. In a segment I was like, what should I call this? We are calling this the Squeals of Swine.
Listen to them squeal.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. So these are all pulled from IMDb specific. I'm going to just be pulling them from the individual episodes. So this is all for episode 1.
Great. Very good.
And I have a few. Like, are you cool with me reading quite a bit?
Absolutely. I'd like to hear like at least 3 or 4 of these if you have them.
Okay, well, I have a little bit more than that. All right. This is from Zarfalicious. The title is, This Is Not the Wheel of Time. I don't know anyone that reads the books can relate this that can rate this higher than a 1-star rating unless they're being paid to. So I had, hey, no longer in the review. Steve?
Yes?
How come I ain't seeing a cut?
Because we are not getting paid a dime for anything we do, James.
Okay, back to the review. And even if you haven't read the books, it's really not that good. Aww. So many needles changes to characters that, I'm including the typos, that don't need to be changed and have no apparent reason for being changed. Robert Jordan is probably rolling in his grave at how they massacred his baby.
This is the most generic review I've ever heard in my life. I think because I've read this review about 20 times from different people.
Yeah.
Saying the exact same thing, though. There's exact same points. Robert Jordan rolls in his grave. They massacred my boy. This show is nothing like the book. You cannot rate it more than a 1 unless you're getting paid. These are like reoccurring themes. Did you find? You said you have a lot of these, right?
Yeah. I tried not to take things that are just saying the same thing. So
excellent.
Let's get on to JSHN. Title of the review, not good. Where do I start? You know why you are here, viewer. So do I. You didn't come all the down here to sing praise to the show, but to murder it. And rightfully so. It deserves it. It's painful to watch. It's slow. The characters are dull and boring and probably hiring within an hour sifting through somebody's high school for ultra diverse faces. The fight scene was meh. Why did they shaky cam spell casting? First time I saw this, they shaky cam a fight that's 99% CGI. Wow. Plot, there isn't any. They start by saying something, but never really established anything. Not to mention, it felt like the director was someone who was trying really hard to ape other better shows from better novel. I won't name which one. You already know which one.
We sure
There
do.
wasn't good by any mean.
I almost agree with the shaky cam point that the person made. Almost agree with that, because it's like the only, like, I think that's the only valid criticism I hear, because did you hear any valid criticism in there?
No. So people in other places criticize the CGI, and I'm like, why are people criticizing this? And Nicole said, okay, James, this is why. Everyone doesn't have a bar set at Sharknado or The Killing Tree or a plethora of trauma movies that Nicole and I have. Like, that's the holy shit. That's as far into the depth of the world that we've seen CGI be so terrible. People are used to Avatar, Spray of Water, things of that nature. So Nicole was like, oh, when they get bisected, probably the only, in quotes, bad CGI. But I'm like, that's magic. That could be how magic bisects a trollop. We don't know. And the shaky cam thing is only during the fight scene and only when we are running with other characters and trying to scope out, like, what the heck is happening right now. I think the shaky cam was just, and I think the CGI is perfect.
I don't disagree with them necessarily about the shaky cam. I just think that was, or I don't agree with them, but I think that was the only point in the whole criticism that you read that I could, like, understand where they were coming from with it, because that was something that I saw as well and noticed. But you know how I feel, but about the show, I like it. I like it a lot. And I can't see how it deserves such harsh treatment. At best, it's just an average show.
Yeah.
At best. I mean, at worst, I suppose. I don't know. What else you got?
Okay. This is from Finn Schneider saying, there is no end, but there should be one end. Maybe that's a reference to
It is
the Wheel of Time.
It is, because at the beginning of every book they talk about, the Wheel of Time, how there is no beginnings and there's no endings.
Okay.
So,
I now get that after rewatching the first episode, but in this I was like, this was a bad sentence you wrote, sir.
Was that all he said in his review?
No, he says, honestly, if you read this, stop now, as there is only pain if you watch this show and expecting a great fantasy experience based on the work of Robert Jordan. All world building from Jordan is dismissed. Ellipses, because I took out like a bunch of just nonsense they said. So what is left? I don't know, an empty shell of a show that tries to be more than it is. The political agenda is dripping out of every frame, and you can 100% tell what the priorities have been. I'm guessing it meant were, they put while. The priorities have been were casting, writing, and directing. At no point you get the feeling you experience a decent fantasy world where you get lost in. That's the end of the review. This is what I have to say to them. Imagine producing a TV show, Steven and Mr. Finn Schneider, and someone's complaint is that your priority was the casting, writing, and directing. Like, that's all good. That's perfect. That was what you prioritized, but not the world building?
And this is after one episode as well, right?
Yes, I have no idea what they're talking about, and I'll get more into the political agenda. It's so stupid, but let me keep reading some.
Yes,
I think I have 4 short ones left.
Oh, was that that was the end of that guy's review, there, right?
Yeah, that was Finn Schneider.
Before you get to your next one, I want to go back again to the second guy, the Shaky Cam, Mr. Shaky Cam.
Yeah.
He made reference to Game of Thrones and how this show is trying to be Game of Thrones. I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination to say that this show owes a lot to Game of Thrones, to Game of Thrones being a successful fantasy show. Because if it was not, this show would never have even been in the making for being made, because it's too complex of a plot and it would take too many seasons. They looked at Game of Thrones and said, well, it's possible, so let's do it with this great story.
This is what I have to say about people complaining about Game of Thrones influencing this show. Before Game of Thrones, you want to know what we got? That pilot of this property that was so stupid. That's what fantasy shows used to be. They used to be Monster of the Week, low budget, no budget, just shovelware that if you were into fantasy, you enjoyed, and that is it. No one else was going to get into that stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of these people who hated this show, they go back and they look at that original pilot that you and I watched, I think back on episode 15 of this show, and they say that version was better than what we got here, which is insane to even compare the two by any stretch.
Yeah, I will say, remember, I loved it, but not because it was good, but because of how trashy it was.
Exactly, yes.
Which I guess if you grew up with things like Hercules, Xena, even though like people like that is a, in quotes, good show. If you grew up with the trashy stuff and then you see the trashy stuff, you're like, well, I want trashy stuff, not this Game of Thrones stuff.
Yeah, let's get at least one more negative review from you. What you got?
Okay, let me. One person just said tired of woke garbage. There is an abundance of diversity in the books, and like, how is this woke? What the like? I don't people are just using that as a like trigger word these days, and it sucks. Like people saying that about X-Men, it's like it's always been political. Just shut up. Okay, but forget that person. I don't even want to read their name because it is just a bunch of letters. Let's go on to the last two. This is from Perry Apt saying, not fun at all. It wasn't good at all. Just another boring series. I watched it 1.3 times speed, and still the pace was awful. But more importantly, it contained, in quotes, modern sexism. I found this series really offensive. They're insulting men and calling it feminism. That's the point. That is the ding-dang point. They are showing how men treat women, but showing it as women treating men like that. And guess what? It's bad. Are you that stupid? This isn't, in quotes, modern sexism or calling it feminism. It's just showing things in a different light so your pea brain can be like, oh, that's happening to me? I guess I can feel empathy now. Shut up.
They're getting you worked up too, man. I'm glad you did these first because this is really getting you in a frenzy over here.
Yeah, it's like it's showing that absolute power corrupts absolutely regardless. And then like, oh, you can't empathize, you piece of crap. Okay, finally, this is too fast, too many changes by Neil Roundabush or Rodabush. I'm not sure. Okay. The writers had the easier job in the world. Read the book, follow the book, convey the book to the screen. Easy, yet they decide to base the book off Spark Notes. I could complain more, but I would be putting more effort than the writers did. That's the end of the review, and this is what I have to say. The writers, possessive, may have had the easier job in the world, but I had the harder job in the world curating these asinine reviews.
And that wasn't even really a review either. That was, I don't even know what that guy was.
Who knows?
What was the beginning part of that again? Give me the first sentence one more time.
The writers had the easier job in the world. That's why they meant to say, I hope, easiest job in the world.
So this person thinks that you take a page of a book and that's like one frame of a film. And then you take the second page of the book and there's your second frame of the film. Is that how screenwriting works?
No, it's not. The only way you could say like, hey, you could just do this is technically for comic books because comic books are storyboarded.
They could have taken the Wheel of Time comic books and just did the TV show like that, right, buddy? Right, my little friend who doesn't like writers.
Okay, you want to know what? If he had said that specifically, I would have said, there's some weight to that.
Yeah, maybe.
But for something that, like, you can't do that because guess what? It's narration. You are reading not just dialogue. It's if all books were purely scene direction, people talking and how they are talking and action, then you could just go one to one. But there's so many details. It's explain. Also, like, I'm guessing Wheel of Time jumps in timelines a little bit.
It does in the later books. Sure. I mean, the first three books are very linear, I gotta say.
Okay. But the first three don't start with Meringue trying to find the dragon, does it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because that was a big criticism of people saying, the stuff that happens in here didn't even happen in the first chapters of the first book.
Well, okay, that's true. The first book really focused on the Two Rivers people, and it really focused on Rand a lot. And this book this show, the first episode focuses on like the Aes Sedai's perspective, and it introduces them in a way that they weren't really introduced until about like the middle of the series, because the Aes Sedai were very like, I don't know, there wasn't much known about them in the earlier books because nothing much was written about them. So that is kind of true, but in this adaptation of the show, they're focusing on Moraine, who's an Aes Sedai, so they want to bring more Aes Sedais in from the very beginning. And Rand is there, and the first book happenings are all right there as well.
Yeah, people don't understand that if you can't have one. If you have 8 episodes and you want to follow it by the book, I'm guessing 7 episodes would just be a slice of life meandering in a village, and then the catalyst happens. No, if you want, you want something to be set in motion, so the audience is engaged from episode 1, opposed to just like throwing them for a loop. If you're just like, hey, this is like, hey, we're hanging out, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, there's big ogres being bisected. That would be such a shift in tone.
That's true. Yep. Well, why don't we shift our tone a little bit? Are we ready to move on to our recap scene by scene?
Yeah, because I don't have a lot of notes since we, already, I was like, I'm pretty sure I wrote a note about this same exact thing on our first episode, so I wrote down new stuff.
Right on. Well, let's get to it. I'm going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Catastrophic, that the monster effects in this genre of death, I'm beyond the apex. I'm logic, spitting gothical text. It's a probable bed of a possible threat. Unsealing my seal with a fat man blast. You're concealing your squeals with the black mass pass. Revealing I'm real to your class at last. I smash in the dash cause I clap back fast. Testing up my scales.
And we're back. That was Catastrophic by Marshland Monster, the newest remix just put out maybe just a couple days ago, maybe about a week ago. Maybe a Metal Sign. He loves it. Hey, Marshland Monster, that was you I was playing.
What's up?
Heck yeah. So we watched Wheel of Time episode 1 again, and I'm going scene by scene. Are you ready to start, or do you have anything you wanted to go into before we do this?
Wait, this dragon guy, all we know is that this child is coming of age.
Okay, I'll go into that. So the first scene we have Moraine, and she kind of explaining some things to us as she's getting ready for battle. She's getting all her knives ready, and she and her man Lan are going out in the battlefield looking for the dragon. Now, I guess I'll just explain this in my own words. Who Moraine is looking for is the dragon reborn, because thousands upon thousands of years ago, the dragon, who was a good guy, we got to remember the dragon was a good guy.
GG.
He was battling the Dark One. He was going without the help of the Aes Sedai and the women. He was pretty much, doing his own thing.
Raw dogging it.
He was raw dogging it, buddy. And he and 100 of his closest buds, the companions, in all fairness, they were trying to do the right thing. They were on the side of good. They imprisoned the Dark One into a prison because he's immortal. They couldn't actually kill him, so they imprisoned him tightly. But in the process of doing so, as superheroes are wont to do, he completely destroyed the world and completely destroyed the magic system that was in place. The magic system, there was like the Sedan, which the men drew source from, and the Sedar, where the women drew source from. And the Sedan became completely corrupt during that battle. So even though the dragon was a good guy, he was kind of reckless and crazy, and he did a lot of damage. So Moraine here is in search of the dragon reborn because she has seen a foretelling of the dragon coming.
From a milky-eyed lady.
From a milky-eyed lady. That is actually... did she mention that in this episode?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, yeah, she is out there looking for the dragon so that she and the other Aes Sedai can help the dragon and train the dragon so the dragon doesn't go all wild card this time around.
Are you saying this is DreamWorks How to Train a Dragon?
It might be.
How to Train the Dragon.
They want to train the dragon. They want to take him to the White Tower and make him be a good guy. That's why we're going to get to this next scene. These red Aes Sedai are out there. They're not hunting for the dragon. They're just looking for men who can channel.
Okay.
So they come upon that guy who sees his twin who's not actually there, and they still the guy. They suck the magic out of him by a process called stilling, which is like the worst thing you could possibly do in Moraine's eyes, because Moraine's out there looking for the dragon, and she's thinking that guy down there, kind of suspicious. She's especially Lan. Lan was like, yeah, that guy's the right age. That could be the dragon. Think that was him? She's like, nope, it wasn't him. Good thing, too, because if it was, the dragon's helpless now. They sucked his magic out of him. So, basically what these red Aes Sedai are doing is, illegal. They can't be judge, Judy, and executioner. They should be capturing these men who can channel and taking them to the White Tower, not sucking the magic out of them.
I removed one of my ribs so I could self-still.
You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Stilling guys is bad, James. You don't do these kind of things to yourself.
Oh, I do.
So yeah, this main Aes Sedai here in this group of reds is Leandrin, and she's the super cool, super crappy one that I love a lot. The really angular face, blonde haired one. You're shaking your head no, but she's like Nellie Olson to me. I just love this woman. But yeah, that's my whole point, is that they absolutely should not. This is against all protocol, but they're going around doing it anyway. So why Moraine is allowing this, I'm not exactly sure, but she is kind of, they're all after the same goal. She's trying to find a guy who can channel or a girl who can channel and help them out. And these women are just looking for guys who can channel. So they're kind of after the same goal in a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Steve, I don't know why they're trying to find a woman, because as the books establish, the dragon can only be a man.
Only men can be them guys. That's right. Well,
that was a lot of reviews.
Yeah, we changed things up a little bit in the TV show, and I welcome changes. I don't mind changes one bit, especially because if I know the story backwards and forwards, I welcome a slight change like that. And especially because this is like a mystery kind of thing. Like they're trying to bring on that mystique. I like that. Because
then we just have 5 dudes hanging out with Meringue and Lan. Ugh.
Okay, well, I'm going to go on from that scene. We know that guy is not him. That he didn't look 20 either, did he? That dude looked way older than 20.
He was dirty and had a beard, you know.
But he had those wrinkles in his face and stuff, and like, I don't know, he looked like a 35-year-old dude to me.
When you're going mad from the magic, that could happen.
All right. Point taken. All right, next scene here is nothing short of bullying. We're seeing a hazing scene here. That's almost what it is, in my opinion. The women's circle here, Nynaeve is given a welcoming speech to Egwene. They're welcoming her into the women's circle, but first she has to be hazed, I suppose is what you would call it, be bullied.
And that's not like a welcoming speech and then just saying like, hey, so it's not technically hazing. It is saying this will help you realize that even in chaos, you can be calm.
You saw the river, right? You saw like those trepidatious rapids that she was going down, right?
Yeah. And all she has to do is be calm within the chaos, and the river will guide her, just like magic will guide her through the chaos.
Yeah, you're right. But I was just looking at all these women that like were part of the women's circle already, and I was like, well, okay, they made it. All of them made it. But people back at home, like Rand and Perrin, were kind of worried that she wouldn't make it. And it seemed to me that's a valid worry. It seemed like a pretty treacherous run. That you're right. I mean, she followed the rules. She relaxed, and she was, able to gently guide her course to shore. But she was still a wreck. I mean, she was still like coughing up water and not looking great at the end there.
But here's why everyone back home, they are fearful, but everyone in the women's circle is calm. They have been through that chaos. People in town have only seen the chaos. They are afraid of the chaos, and that's why they live in the mountains.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. That's valid. Right? I mean,
yeah,
okay, good. Sometimes I'm not sure if you're getting ready to make a joke and there's going to be a punchline, but I was like, that sounded completely valid. I like that.
No, I'm being sincere right now.
Keep it up.
Keep it up being sincere? No.
Okay, sorry. Here's your chance to stop. We got Rand and Tam. We're going to see our 2 guys here. They're bringing barrels for Beltane from their home up on the hills.
Merry Beltane.
Merry Beltane to you. Rand is quick with a bow. They're looking out for wolves because they're talking about how there's more wolves than normal around. Talking about
Kramer must be in town.
Talking about what?
Howard Kramer must be in town.
The wolves have been summoned.
Yeah.
And Rand used to pick berries for Egwene, talking about what a sap he used to be. We've got some nice Dave Matthews jam band music to lead us into town here. And we see our chill village. It's like any kind of like fantasy chill village. And in any episode 1 you see, everybody's having a great time.
It actually is, because it becomes chill. Because I was going to be like, well, it's not like Legend of Dragoon popped up, and I was like, wait, no, that immediately gets burned down. And I was like, wait, no, yeah, then it is.
Yep.
And then I was like, well, the summoner, wait, no, that gets burned down too.
So all the women that were from the women's circle, we see them in there again. They're taking some shots, having a great time. We see our boy Matt. He's gambling and losing. Seems pretty desperate. Here, Perrin is talking about soldiers and mercenaries heading south to war from Geldon. And, it did reek of, plot to come. But I don't know. Nothing wrong with that. I love the scene anyway. Matt's eyeballing Dana and her bracelet, and he knows that there's something awry over there. And Egwene comes in and gets a huge round of applause. She made it. She's not dead, just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And she has to start serving drinks. I think that's pretty wild how after her whole journey here, she's just back to being a barkeep again.
Living in that chaos. And, okay, Now that I have seen this season, and I know, guys, this is a recap of, this is a rewatch, so I'm going to be spoiling things because I never noticed this in the first viewing. I was like, oh, this just came out of nowhere later on. Perrin having feelings for Egwene are so here in this first episode. Not just him doing long looks and then being like, oh yeah, I guess I'll go hang out with my wife. When he goes to hang out with his wife, there are like she's, oh, why didn't you come to the Egwene coming back party?
Right.
And she's like tepid about it, isn't talking, and when he like hugs her, she kind of like recoils, and he says like, I love you, and she says, I know. It's so good.
It is, and I think you're right. I think that is why his wife chose not to come to the Egwene party, because she's like, I don't want to be there and watch everybody love Egwene. I know Perrin has these backwards feelings for her, perhaps. And you're right. When she walks in the door, Egwene walks in the door of that inn after her, river village. Rand and Perrin are both like equally like psyched to see her. Both of them are like really happy to see her and paying attention to her every move. Actually, they're both like staring at her all night. Rand more so than Perrin. But as they're serving drinks, he's eyeballing her the whole time, and Perrin's right there beside him. And yeah, darkness falls on the end, and this is where we get our boy Lan making a really sketchy entrance. This is not the way to make an entrance.
The way he should be entrancing this room is how he enters a room later on, the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Yes, please. But he comes in here looking like a dark friend. I got to say it. He looks like a dark friend when he walks in, and like, I don't know if that was intentional, but that's not how I would ever enter a room. But he comes in to introduce Moiraine Sedai to the group, so everybody knows it's an Aes Sedai. And this is like a really big deal. I don't know if they after watching it multiple times, it's apparent they do make it a big deal. But I think upon first watch, you might be like, what's the big deal with this woman? I don't really get it. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly why, because she's like a walking legend, basically. Like, everybody has always heard of Aes Sedai in this town, but they don't really know any Aes Sedai. They only know rumors about them. So it's a really big deal that one walks into their village.
It would be like if you were hanging out in a bar and Dolly Parton showed up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Her handlers would come in first. They'd make like a big announcement, and then Dolly would come on in. Howdy, y'all. What are y'all all sitting around for?
Oh, my God, why is she here? I guess maybe the war.
It must be the war. That's the assumption. That's everybody's assumption is she's there because of the war. That's exactly right. Somebody tells us, I think it's Rand, says that one Aes Sedai can turn an entire battle, which is kind of cool. So that's another reason for everybody to be kind of trepidatious around her. Yeah, this is the point that Nynaeve sends Perrin off to go hang out with his wife. And you've already described that whole scene to us. So we don't need to go into that again. We do meet Matt's mom, though, pretty soon here. And she's drunk like everybody else is. Everybody's drunk, except for she definitely has a weird streak in her. Like when Matt goes and puts her to bed and she calls him a bastard for doing so. And she's not a fun mom. She's not a fun drunk mom.
Yeah, we discussed her at length in our first episode.
Yeah, we did.
Holy Christmas. Is Matt's dad stilled?
What do you mean? Like, was he a magic guy that got stilled?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, because that would have been like, oh, you're a bastard and you're going to end up like your father. Because we see possibly he might have magic inklings. It could just be that cursed dagger. We don't know. But it would be nice to, when she says, you are going to end up like, or maybe if you keep following this path, and he actually will because he stole that cursed dagger. But I would... There's nothing that I can pull except maybe he was stilled and this could happen to Matt as well.
Yeah, I think this is just average people troubles. his mom's just kind of drunk and kind of nutty, and so her dad kind of distanced himself from her and seeks company of other nicer people, I suppose. And the little girls are suffering, and Matt's role is to be there for his little sisters, which he is. I like how he invites them over. He's like, girls, come sleep with me tonight. And you think he's going to take them over to like his pad, but he just takes them over to his bed, which is like the bed next to his mom's bed. So they're 6 feet more away from the crazy woman, which I guess is better than nothing. Back at the inn, they're closing up for the night, doing some dishes, and they're again talking about that war. And they leave Rand and Egwene alone to do some dishes, and they talk, they make out, and Rand clearly is super in love with her. He's super into her, big time. And she likes him okay. But it's clear that he likes her more than she likes him, I think.
I think they like each other equally, but like, you can love someone as much as someone else loves you, but if your priorities in life or your aspirations in life are different, you just have to split apart, and I think that's what's happening with them.
Yeah, good call. That's exactly right. I don't want to say that she doesn't like him as much as he likes her, but that's all he's into is her. He doesn't have like a side passion like she does.
Yeah, like he's fine living in these mountains with her. We know that's what he wants. We see that later on when the Dark One says like, "I'm gonna make you feel good," and then it's her on this mountaintop with a child, and he's like, "This is my dream, but I know this isn't her dream, so this can't be reality. I'm breaking out of here."
Yep, exactly. So we leave them for now. They're making out at the moment. And we go over to Moraine and Lan. This is their naked time. They're having their mineral bath salts, and they're hanging in the jacuzzi.
Which now, when I first saw this, I was like, ooh, baby, sexual tension. But now that I know this dude is totally into every other woman besides her, and she is into every woman, which is not him, like there's like, no, they are colleagues, zero sexual tension, and I really like this.
I do too. They're really chill around each other and obviously platonic.
A little too chill-y is what he says.
That's right. Need some magic to make this water a little more warm. And
he pee-pees in it. He says, I can help, guys.
Right on. So yeah, right after this, they're talking about who the dragon could be, and we get like a real interesting shot of Egwene right after that scene, and she's just kind of looking creepily at a candle. And this is the first instance that we see her listening to the wind. I didn't catch that until this rewatch. I just thought it was like just a transitional scene, just like they were talking about the dragon. They cut to Egwene. Egwene looks mysterious. But no, what she's doing here is she's listening to the wind, and she can hear that mysterious skeleton rider, that Fade, coming into town. She senses that guy as he's coming into town here. Did you pick up on that?
I did not.
Yeah. So she's already doing her thing she's supposed to be doing. Good job, Egwene. This Fade rides into town. You hear this like some creepy, like scary Fade music. And that music fades out into some happy music that this fellow is whistling. This guy is Pedane Thane, whistling along his little cart. Same song, just a little different tone, that's all. Kids love this guy. This guy is cool.
Hey, we'll just take this from a minor key into a major key. No, that's foreshadowing, guys.
But the kids love him right now. They're like all happily. Matt runs up to him to do some business with him because it turns out that Matt snaked that bracelet off of Dana, and now he's trying to sell it to Pedane Thane, who's only given him a couple lanterns for it. Not a really good deal. But I don't know. That's this guy's deal. He knows that it's stolen. He knows that Matt is in a desperate spot and that he can't sell that bracelet here in this town. so he just takes advantage of the situation, I guess.
Yeah.
They kind of both get a little something from this, but not what either one of them want. No, I don't know. I think Padawan Fane is probably pretty happy with this exchange because he got a lot more than Matt did.
Oh, yeah. He'll be able to sell that for the 3 marks and... Or wait, the lanterns probably were also 3 marks if that's how much a single coin is.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't really catch the trade exchange here. I mean,
yeah, what's the conversion rate, guys? Let us know.
Moraine is back. She's here in the morning, walking through town. Obviously the main character. Everybody is catching eyes with her as she walks through town here. Egwene goes to find Rand to talk, and we hear Rand's dreams of being a husband and doesn't have the highest aspirations. And Egwene wants to be a wisdom, and Rand's not thrilled about any of this. He's never acting thrilled, but he is okay with it. He leaves this scene, this mountaintop hill scene where they're like in the daytime talking about it. He leaves this scene kind of okay with the whole arrangement. Not happy, but okay.
I could be a wisdom.
How what do you mean? You?
Yeah. No husband, no kids. I'm fine with that.
Well, you got to be a woman. You got to be in the women's circle. Would they accept you in the women's circle, James?
Probably not. I mean, in school, I was accepted into women's circles.
That's a start. So what if, like in school, like one of those girls like pushed you off a cliff and into the river? Do you think you would have survived that chasm, that swim?
Do I have to plug my own nose, or do I have a nose clamp already?
No, you're not prepared with. You have to plug your own nose.
All right, well, good thing I'm not one of those nerds that needs to do that. Yeah, just no reason
Obviously
I asked
not.
that. Yeah, I'd be fine with it. I'm a good swimmer. I was in swim class. Swim team. Reluctantly.
Well, you're on the path. You're on the path there. I mean, the other thing you got to get past is that the women's circle accepting you. That's like the main thing. And if that happens, you could be in. I don't know.
Can Nicole be in the women's circle with alopecia? Do they discriminate?
No. Why would they?
You need a braid.
Oh, shit. Well, they come on. They would make
magical
exceptions.
Braid.
They would make exceptions for that. I mean,
when Meringue is doing her magic, it braids up. So just make a magic braid.
Yeah. I don't think it's a requirement. I mean, if you cannot grow hair, then they cannot say you can't be in here because you need a braid. All the braid is just a visual representation. It's not like the real deal.
You'd probably get like a chill ass hemp necklace that's braided.
Yes. Or maybe one of the women would do a what do you call it? Locks of love. They would grow their hair long, cut it off, and help her out that way.
I've been trying to convince Nicole to let me give her a locks for love, and she thinks it's creepy.
Huh? No.
I want to grow out my hair and then cut it.
Yeah.
And then be like, hey, here's a wig I made of my own hair.
Well, I don't know about a homemade wig, but if you got one professionally done, I think that's great. I think it'd be awesome. But I mean, if she's creeped out by it, she's the one who's got to wear it. So, I mean,
I will say every podcast I bring this up, the person I'm talking to goes, oh, that's so sweet. I say it knowing it's creepy. I mean, for some weird reason, no one else thinks it's creepy. I'm like, I am on Nicole's side. It would be funny, and that's why I want to do it, and her to be in my own hair. But yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Well, why does Locks of I shouldn't use Locks of Love as my example because that's the bad one. But there's other organizations that are like that are more reputable. Why is that such a bad thing? It's like a normal, regular, everyday thing.
Because it's if we were to stand together, we would have the same exact haircut.
Maybe you'll be going gray in a few years. I think now is the time to do it before you start going gray.
No, my dad started going gray. Speaking of which, I need a father figure, Steve. You're in the running. We don't need to get into that. My dad started going gray maybe 52, so I have 21 years.
You're right. I have a gray beard. That's why I consider myself gray, but all the hair on top of my head is not gray at all. So Yeah, I think you're right. You got plenty of time to talk Nicole into this.
Honey, you're not fooling anyone. We know the dye job's there.
All right, I'm going to go back to the show here. Okay, the boys are having breakfast, having some boy talk. And yeah, this is the scene where they give Matt the money, where they try to give Matt some money. And Matt at first gallantly turns it down. And then they insist, and then Matt takes it. So that's what you're supposed to do in these situations. Now Matt has money and the lanterns, because that money was supposed to be by the lanterns, but he snaked his own boys. The girls are all listening to the wind again. This is where Nynaeve is telling Egwene about listening to the wind, and it does not sound good at all. And we'll just see that as a, what do you call that?
Foreshadowing.
A foreshadowing. Thank you, sir.
I believe I said a joke on the same exact scene, but I have a new one. I hope it's new. When Nynaeve says, Egwene, listen to the wind. Do you hear that? It goes, and then she just goes, and then Egwene has to be like, come on, man. Don't just toot around me. And she's like, it wasn't a toot.
I think if they had added that scene, all these people with their negative reviews would be like chuckling like, oh, this is kind of like South Park.
Except then they're like, but no, it was a queef. You get that out of here.
Let's see. While they're doing that, Lan is out there and he finds this group of 13 slaughtered sheep laid out in a yin-yang symbol in the middle of the woods there. Also a foreshadowing of some bad times to come. Darkness is falling as Rand and Tam return back home, and they're doing their own little Beltane celebration up at their house. They didn't stay down at the village. They're doing their own little one-on-one, lighting the candle for their mom. And we get a great speech from Michael McElhatton about the Wheel of Time here. And this show is very heavily into reincarnation. Obviously makes sense. We just talked about the dragon, how the dragon is reborn. Reincarnation thing. And even during this whole ceremony, it's everybody in town is into this ceremony. It's like this is the one thing everybody is on board with. And even Matt and his mom are having a nice moment here. Even Nynaeve cares about this and she's shedding some tears. Like this is like, this is the big unifier of the town here. Mm-hmm. It's Beltane. Happy Beltane to you, James.
Back at you, sir. Merry Beltane.
Merry Beltane, exactly. Moraine and Egwene share some eyes here for some reason or another. And Egwene's mom, that's Egwene's mom who has that little speech like, hey, the dead got to hear us party. Wee! So that's when everybody starts having a good time and dancing. Even Pedane Fane is dancing over there, having a good time, smiling big. Everybody's liking this time.
Contemplating.
I think at this point he's not contemplating. He's just chilling. Like he's liking life today. He knows what's going to happen, obviously, but he's liking it right now.
He's contemplating how he's going to spend this fat ass cash he just earned.
Hell yeah, he's got this nice little bracelet from Dana. He can wear on his way out. Wave bye bye. That was the best score of this whole thing. Is that bracelet? He loves it. Let's see. Lan and Moraine know that an attack is about to happen. This loose dancing they're doing at the beginning. I think the last time we watched this, I complained about the square dancing and how goofy it was, their little turn clap dance they were doing. But first they were dancing loose. You saw Matt dancing with his two sisters, just kind of boogieing, chilling. Everybody's just kind of doing their thing. Then they start this weird square dancing. That's when the Trollocs attacked. So I kind of think that they don't like this square dance situation.
It's a circle dance. I think it's more wheel symbolism, and that's what they hate.
They do hate the wheel. Absolutely, they hate it. But I think it's the dancing they hated, too. They wanted to see more of the boogieing. They wanted to see more little kids just kind of going loose, How do you dance? Do you dance, James?
Yeah, when I'm at weddings, I do.
Yeah, so is it slow only or do you boogie?
I wish it could be slow only. It'll be a fast-paced song, and I'll pull Nicole in. Nicole, if we're at a wedding, it will be tipsy, so it is funny that during a like hyper-fast song, it could be like the theme song to the Powerpuff Girls, just that break beat that everyone uses.
Yeah.
And I'd be just dancing slow, and she's like, why are you doing this? But no, I just go crazy.
Okay, I do not. I'm a more reserved person, and it took me a long time to get comfortable dancing. I wasn't raised in a dancing culture, I suppose. Maybe that's why.
I don't think I was either.
I don't think I was really exposed to like any, like I think like prom or something like that was the first time I was in that situation. Like it just wasn't a thing that I was around. Like weddings, I didn't go to a lot of weddings, I guess.
Oh, I did, but I was always outside catching grasshoppers.
That's what you're supposed to do when you're a kid. Heck yeah. None of that dancing crap. Anyway, I digress. The Trollocs attack here, and this is no good. This is the shaky cam scene that the guy was talking about, which actually is my favorite scene from this whole show, is this scene where you have the single track of Matt doing the run, tripping over the Trolloc, going over the fire, knocking crap over. I love this one-shot scene. And I think if I didn't like this show at all, like if I thought this show sucked and everybody sucked, I would still recognize that scene as a superior scene. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was my favorite thing about this whole thing, was that one shot of Matt running.
And I will say, on like bad CG, there is like, it's just hard to do, which is when you have all of these, you have no real light source, but you're trying to CG in channeling light from all. It's going to be more and more difficult, especially for television to do. So you can't criticize them for that. Like they did fantastic for what they did. So faces are hard to CG, so like some of the like shaven, like what I want to do, maybe no, you want to know, I guess I got to keep them furry so then it looks better.
Yeah.
But faces are hard to do, and even though they're like pig men, they still have human like faces, so you can't criticize that either.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing it. I do think that if I changed anything about this show, I would have this whole attack happen during the daytime as opposed to nighttime. I mean, I know why they did it at night. It makes sense. You got the fire. You can see the magic. But I don't know. I would have done a daytime shot instead, personally.
Also, if Meringue has to, like, if she's pulling actual light sources, you see, like, oh, it's from the bonfires and all of that. If it was during the daytime, she, you know, like Birdman would have a bunch to go off from, and she's unbeatable. But this raises the stakes that, wow, I have to fend off this small army with not a lot. And it would have also been, hey, their main town square bar thing isn't half destroyed.
Yeah, it's more than half destroyed eventually. First, let's see. Rand and his dad get a little personal attack up there, up in their house up in the hills. Just one guy. They get one guy. This one guy is named Narg. We know this as book readers. His dad turns out to be a pretty great fighter, and he also has a pretty badass sword that's got the little heron mark on it, which is the signifier in this world that this is a blade master. The person who owns this blade is a master at it. Which is a surprise to us and a surprise to Rand. Rand didn't know this about his dad.
Nicole, this is the first time she was watching, she was eating, and she goes, oh, this is a scene to like show, oh, wait, he's actually good at using swords. I was like, yeah. And like she just like sat down and saw that.
So she would, her review would be like, predictable. I knew it.
That's my review for the boys.
Right.
Because I'd sit down and be like, oh, yeah, that character is probably going to die in, like, the following scene. And Nicole's like, no, no, that's, like, a main character. And then the next scene, they die. And she's, like, crying. And I was like, see, I told you. And she's like, no, why? Why did you say that?
It's your fault it happened. I guess the showrunners heard you through the TV set somehow. Yeah, so his dad's a good fighter, of course. He's a trained fighter. But Rand's pretty good, too. Like, when his dad is at he's getting ready to lose, basically. Rand comes through, helps out Dad, but his dad ain't looking good. Back down in the village, we get some more shots of some fighting happening down there. Nynaeve and Egwene are also some pretty good fighters. This is something they've never had to deal with in their lives, and the whole town is pretty good at backing off these big fellas. Finally, Moiraine and Lan show up. I was kind of hoping they'd be there much sooner than this, but they show up eventually doing her slow motion magic, and townsfolk join in. Everybody fights. No joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but here we get Matt. He goes to rescue his girls, which shows us more of Matt's character. At first, I was like, why would you go get them? They're fine. They're hiding. But then I was like, oh, well, he wants to get them to make sure that they're fine and make sure that they're hiding.
Whereas the mom was just like, we don't know where they are.
Yeah, she could care less. Like, I'm glad somebody cares. Thank you,
Two
Matt.
less mouths to feed, which means 2 more beers in me.
That's right.
There is a scene where the town folk are circling a trollop, and they're like, "Trollops die tonight."
They do. Let's see. Oh, somebody else dies tonight. Perrin is fighting some folks in his blacksmith little fighting hideaway. And yeah, he has a Wolverine rage, and he turns around and accidentally kills his beloved Layla. It's pretty messy.
In quotes, accidental.
His eyes, I could tell it was an accident. He did not like this. And it was messy too. It was unnecessarily messy.
That's a CG thing that just in general that I don't like. When he's stabbing into the trollop right before that, there's CG blood and all that shit always sucks. The only way to do it any bit good is when it's both, like it's practical and you enhance the practical with a little bit of CG. But other than that, it always sucks.
I agree. I noticed the same thing too. I couldn't help but notice the CGI blood splashing. But I don't know. We're supposed to be focused on the fact that he accidentally killed his wife, and he feels awful about it. So, yeah.
As he should.
As he should. Hell yeah. Ooh, Nynaeve. Nynaeve is dragged off by her braid, by a Trolloc. She's kicking and screaming. We don't like that. We don't see her again the rest of the episode. She might be dead. I don't know.
She says, ninja spin, and then in the background, just like slicing and dicing, explosions of sparks happening, and we're like, what's going on?
Okay, well, actually, Moiraine takes a spear. She, takes a full-on spear through her whole body. And
by edge.
Which shows you, how pretty badass she is. She can pull that thing out, and she's not exactly, all good. But she can live through this, and she can, at that point is when they realize there's too many trollops, I need to go with your phrasing here, to beat. So she has to summon up more power than she initially wanted to, and she has to break down the whole village in order to take down these trollops.
Break the walls down!
And she does. I mean, she's successful, but at what cost, James? At what cost? This beautiful town is dead now. But a baby's got to do what a baby's got to do. You want these trollops dead, that's how you got to do it.
Speaking of which, in the morning, the subtitles say infant crying, and I'm like, baby, shut up. People are dead. Your dirty diaper can wait.
No joke. There's worse stuff happening here. But first, did you see? You had to have seen how Lan protects Moiraine with his body when that whole big dust thing comes through.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that was effective or not, but it was a nice gesture.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So no dirt gets in her cut.
Yes. Hey, let's take one more quick break before we come back, all right?
All right.
Let's take a break before we come back. That made a lot of sense.
Chemicals embedded in the soul. I'm tragedy you read inside the scrolls. Chemicals embedded in the soul. Chemicals embedded up the tragedy you read.
And we're back listening to some more Catastrophic about Marshland Monster there. But we're wrapping up our recap of Wheel of Time Episode 1. We just finished the big trollop battle, and the boys came back into town. The boys being Rand, he brought his dad back on the back of Bella, the shaggy brown mare. And I got to bring up this horse, because I never talked about her before. But this horse, Bella, that we see Rand with, is just as important of a player, as a character, as any of our main characters in this series. Like, some of the most important things that happen in the series happen while Bella, this horse, is around, or while, you know, X character is riding this particular horse. So it's become kind of like a legend in Wheel of Time lore that this horse, Bella, is like, you know, oversees everything that happens. So I'll stick with that.
Oh my God, was Bella born 20 years ago?
Oh shit. Probably so.
I have one more note, and this is in retrospect.
Okay.
Rand's dad is alive?
Yeah, barely. Yes.
I thought he was dead this entire time. I thought, like, oh yeah, Rand's dad dies and he has to, like, carry on his legacy with this sword. No, he's alive.
Barely alive. If he didn't make it to Moraine at this moment, his dad would not be alive. He would have died within a couple hours, because this trollop poison spreads very quickly. But yeah, he comes down there to get help. He goes to Nynaeve for help. Of course, Nynaeve is not there. She's gone. But Egwene jumps in really quickly. She wants to help. Matt saved the girls, takes the girls back to mom and dad, but nobody thanks Matt for that. It's almost like he's in trouble for helping them. This probably like has a lot to do with his character, I suppose. Perrin emerges with the corpse of Layla. Nobody likes that. Moraine does heal Tam, but you can tell that it hurts her because remember, she got speared by that trollop spear in that battle.
Edge.
And she can't and she can't heal herself. She needs somebody else to heal her. So she barely has any strength right now, but what little strength she does have, she's using it to heal others like Tam who needs her help. Rand starts getting a little heavy-handed with Moraine here. Moraine shuts him down pretty quickly, telling him the story of the Dragon Reborn, that it's one of you four, including Egwene in that. And she tells them that more trollops are up there on the mountain. You see them up there on the mountain? See those lights? That's them. So we better get the hell out of here before they show up. There's like a Spider-Man kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you stay here, then that's where they'll come. So if you want your friends to live, you got to get out of here. So Moraine takes them all away to go to the White Tower. That's where our hero's journey is supposed to take them, to the White Tower. And at this point, she leads our four away, and the Wheel of Time turns, and the ages come to pass. And this is the end of our episode, James.
Woo!
So, I don't know, any. I was going to ask you for reviews at this point, but we already had our reviews, and they were all wrong. What's your review of this show, James?
It's good, guys. I think it's not better the second time around. It's a better second time around. It's just maybe like actually it is, because I'm seeing these things that I thought were like, oh, they shoehorned that in, but in later episodes. But no, it's always been present.
Yeah, I think it is. You would be at an advantage to have read at least the first book, to have watched this show, or to have watched the show before you watch the show.
Yeah.
Because, knowing things ahead of time is really helpful with this one. I don't think it's necessary, though. You had a good review of it the first time you watched it, and you had never known anything about this world. So I take that highly. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, James, we'll come back next week with episode 2. But yeah, for this week, for Intro Void, I'm going to plug a compilation album I was part of. It's called Return to the Underground, put out by Last Action, and it is a 3-part album with over 1,000 underground performers, and Intro Void is one of them. I think I'm number 571. So check that album out on Bandcamp. I have the notes for it right there. And how about you, James? What's going on with you?
Hey guys, listen to my newest single. I mean, you've heard it, but stream it wherever music is found. I have some new Dragon Boy Suede stuff that has been put out. Maybe Steve has played those on 1899 episodes. I'm not sure, but if he did, thank you.
I did.
And thank you. And I got a new album coming out of remixes. Like, it's more so my production. It is the Horror Crunk Entertainment Remix album. I took this album, or this record label that I'm now on, Horror Crunk Entertainment. I took tracks from the other people. I remixed them with my own production, made them sound purty, and it's sounding good. That's out February 10th. And listen to my other podcast, MLMpod.com is where you can find out information for that. And patreon.com/MLMpod. $5 a month gets you exclusive content every Friday, and $10 a month gets you shout-outs on our shows, as well as monthly exclusive content.
Heck yeah. Thank you for joining me again, James.
Back at ya.
I will see you, I guess, next week. Next Monday, we'll do episode 2. And until then, may you always find water and shade.
Ahoy!
Close. Bye, James.
Bye.
Chemicals embedded up the tragedy you read inside. Continuous terror with my thin thread breaks. Short strenuous terrors bring a grim headache. I'm sitting set astray with a kin to decay. And a venomous wearer of skin, dead snakes. No delaying doomsday with your primitive shit. This fatal plume came from your ignorant wit. I'm whispering this to the shivering kids. Stay hateful today, knew the rhythm exists. Split the ligament, something in something belligerent. Dismissing innocent, I'm a sinner in a slithering, obliterate, obliterate. Sickness of the simpleton, I'm bigger than the withering. Timber than the shivering. He burst like your boils when I radiate. Warfare, nursed it with oils when you radiate. Swords flare, rabies aid for a pair of brave parade. North stairs cursed at the soil in decayed in the warm air. Chemicals embedded in the soul. I'm tragedy you read inside the scrolls. Chemicals embedded in the soul. Chemicals embedded up the tragedy you read inside the chemicals embedded in the soul. I'm tragedy you read inside the scrolls. Chemicals embedded in the soul. Chemicals embedded up the tragedy you read inside the chemicals embedded in the soul. I'm tragedy you read inside the scrolls. Chemicals embedded in the soul. Chemicals embedded up the tragedy you read inside the chemicals embedded in the soul. I'm tragedy you read inside the scrolls. Chemicals embedded in the soul. Chemicals embedded up the tragedy you read inside the